can find as Israel's bombardment campaign continues. We've seen people fleeing and people arriving in hospitals that are overwhelmed already with patients. Paramedics, our correspondent told us earlier, are also now being targeted. 2 of them have been killed in the last few hours, as well as a local journalist. A doctor we spoke to earlier told us that they were forced to turn patients away from a clinic because they just couldn't cope. And earlier, my colleague Darren Jordan spoke to Dr. Mads Gilbert, a Norwegian doctor at Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza, and he says there's a large number of civilian casualties coming into the hospital.
We are receiving loads of injured from the Sheshaiya area. We were just overflown by 2 or 3 F-16 Israeli jet fighters firing a large number of air-to-ground missiles directed to Sheshaiya. We cope with the situation, but the injuries are severe, and as it has been all the time, a large number of civilians and women and children. The problem now is that the Israeli forces do not allow ambulances to access those people who are trapped in Sheshaiya. There may be more than 100 and hundreds. We don't know the exact number of injured in the area, but the access of ambulances is a major problem. Shifa Hospital managed, but it's under intense pressure.
Dr. Gilbert, what sort of injuries are you seeing come into the hospital?
Right now we are operating almost on amputation injuries and shrapnel injuries from the artillery shells that Israelis are shelling against the local areas, and these may cause internal bleedings and other life-threatening situations. And it's very disturbing to see the large number of civilians, and in particular the children.
Yeah.
One father just came running with his daughter, screaming that we need ambulances, we need ambulances, we need ambulances.
Yeah, I mean, you made a plea earlier to world leaders when we spoke to you to stop the violence, because it's the vulnerable, particularly the children, who are being hit. I mean, what sort of injuries, are they facing? What are you seeing come in there?
Well, shrapnel injuries, amputations, and fatal injuries. More than 70 children have been killed so far, and I think we're getting close to 500 injured children. All types of injuries in them too. The last few days following the ground invasion, it has turned more to shrapnel injuries, which are small metal fragments shot into the skin and the flesh of the body and into the cavities. Dangerous injuries. And of course, there are tens and tens of extremely scared and frightened and painful children coming in with also minor injuries. The situation is very dramatic, and I urge the international community, the Red Cross and UN, to safeguard the security of the hospitals and the free access of the ambulances for the civilian people in Gaza now.
What about supplies, Dr. Gilbert? I mean, it's difficult to get medical supplies into Gaza, even during peacetime. So, I mean, how are your medical supplies holding out? How are you coping?
I've just asked my colleagues in the operating room before this interview, what do you think I should prioritize? And they said everything is critical now. Disposables, drugs, medical equipment, and not to forget power supply and water. The 7 years of siege of Gaza has crippled the healthcare system, and of course it doesn't get much better when we have this enormous caseload, and we do not have supply lines for the urgently needed medical supplies to run the hospitals in Gaza.
Dr. Gilbert, let me get a final thought from you. I mean, I know you're a medical doctor, but what do you think the psychological impact of all of this is, particularly amongst children and also the parents of children who have been killed and injured?
What is remarkable with the Palestinians in Gaza is their resilience. They don't give up. They stand tall. I'm amazed to see the calm and the coherence in the community and in the hospital among the staff. Today, I think it's 3 medical doctors who had their homes shattered by the Israeli attacks, and still they are standing their calls. The psychological effect is that the more they bomb, the more they get convinced and determined that they will not give up. They will not yield to the pressure from the state of Israel. They stand tall and they say calmly, we are used to this, we will not surrender, we have the right to this land, this is our land, and we will help our people. And I think despite the fact that they are exhausted, I see a very palpable determination and coherence among the Palestinians. Really, what they are talking about is that, how can the world accept this Israeli terrorism targeting mostly civilians in an area which is completely shut off? Nobody can fly, there are no shelters, there are no early warning systems, no sirens. The population is basically completely naked towards enormously strong Israeli military machine.